USA Radio News with Chris Barnes.
Iran's disputing his claim, but President Trump says a U.S. Navy warship shot down an Iranian drone in the Strait of Hormuz yesterday.
Ignoring multiple calls to stand down and was threatening the safety of the ship and the ship's crew. The drone was immediately destroyed.
Since the president spoke there late yesterday, Iran has said all of its drones are accounted for, suggesting that the U.S. Navy may have accidentally downed an American drone over the strait. Two-thirds of the lower 48 expected to face dangerously hot temperatures and oppressive humidity through the weekend. The National Weather Service says a large dome of high pressure will let temperatures surge near 100 in many locations. It's going to be stretching from the western plains to the east coast. And this is USA Radio News. USA Radio's Robin Walensky with a story about reports one of the congresswomen that President Trump has been targeting with recent tweets and comments may have married her own brother.
Marriage fraud? Reports Representative Ilhan Omar, who's from Somalia, one of the 4 members of the Progressive Squad, may have married her brother back in 2009. She denies it. Reporter David Steinberg with PJ Media has been investigating this story now for a year. He claims to have evidence she was in a sham marriage with her biological brother. Now, reporters asking President Trump about this. He says there was a lot of talk about the fact that she was married to her brother. I know nothing about it. I hear she was married to her brother. You're asking me a question about it. I don't know.
A bill to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 by 2025 passed by the House and headed now to the Senate. And this is USA Radio News. Yesterday was a second day of protests by supporters of Eric Garner in New York City, 5 years after the African-American man's death, after he was put in a chokehold by a white police officer, leading apparently to Garner's death by an asthma attack. Protesters have promised 11 days of demonstrations after the Department of Justice ruled this week that no civil charges would be filed against the officer who put him in that chokehold. One of Garner's relatives saying during a protest yesterday,
"It wasn't only people that look like me, it was everyone, and that's the way that it should be."
Delta Airlines will soon have doses of Narcan included in the emergency medical kits on board all of its aircraft. The emergency medication used to reverse opioid overdoses now being added after a passenger on a recent Delta flight tweeted that a man died, saying afterwards other passengers and even a doctor were unable to save him because the antidote was not available. Delta says the medication will now be available by this fall. So far, United, Frontier, and Alaska Airlines, and now, soon, Delta, will have added the life-saving medication to their fleet of aircraft. And organizers of Woodstock 50 have reapplied to try to hold the festival at a site in New York State after a town planning board rejected their appeal for a permit a few days ago. And for USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.